So the first test for NASCAR's draft package just finished. It's about 13 minutes after it finished. And in all honesty, I wasn't impressed, which was what my expectations were going into it. If you have watched any of my other videos about how I feel about the 2019 package, you will know that I am not a fan of it. I have not wanted it to come for a long time. I've been saying, for a long time that this is something that I've been against, that they need to go the opposite direction and take downforce away, make the cars harder to drive, not easier to drive, add in horsepower. And they've done, they've taken away horsepower. Now it's down to 550 horsepower. They've put the gigantic spoilers on the rear, and they've, made everything bigger so that there's more aerodynamics. The cars stick more to the racetrack. There's more grip and whatnot. And it's just been the opposite direction, in my opinion, of what NASCAR should go with. But so that NASCAR had this little, they had this little live stream going for the Las Vegas test. I think it ends soon. And so that means I think there's two more draft sessions that are going to take place, and they won't be live streamed, but some will be like periscoping and all that, so we'll be able to see them. But this is just my thoughts on the first session, which had about 14 cars, I think, in it. It was a few big names and then some underfundeds, but so they had some single car runs throughout early morning. I think the test started at 11 Eastern. And the drafting started just after 2 Eastern, so they had about 3 hours to just do single car runs, get feel for it. They had Xfinity cars also out there. I think it was some Xfinity rookies or something out there just kind of doing laps as well. And a big thing to note is that the Xfinity cars are lapping just a little bit faster than the Cup cars are. Xfinity cars during the test were going in the mid to high 30-second brackets. And for the Cup cars, they were going low 31-second brackets. So that basically means that right now the Xfinity cars have more horsepower and are faster at Las Vegas than the Cup cars are. And that's even with the Xfinity cars having a lot of the gas through the course. It's another thing that Clint Bowyer's doing. He did a 4-lap run, and he never lifted out of the gas once during that 4-lap run. And, so he was just wide open throughout the whole racetrack, which is something that's not good either. When you have, the highest form of a sport, and it is, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series is these drivers are the best of the best. These are the hardest cars to drive. And then you can, go wide open around racetrack with, reduced speeds and as much aerodynamics on that car as you need to, so much downforce on that car that it just sticks to the racetrack. I mean, how are people going to take you serious? Because this is just going to introduce that stereotype of NASCAR is just turning left. That's, that big stereotype. NASCAR is just turning left. You just put your foot in the gas and you just go left. That's basically what the drivers did. They put their foot in the gas, they went left. That's basically what they did. There wasn't really much to do other than going left. But that's enough about that. So then they went and did I think it was like 20-minute session for drafting practice. And so they were doing that. They were kind of they got lined up. They went around. I think Brad Keselowski started first, and it was like, Ryan Newman was there, Kyle Busch or whatever, and they were just kind of going around. We didn't see as much passing as I think a lot of people would have liked, and there is a big reason for that. So obviously they bogged the engines down with the whole tapered spacer, aka the restrictor plate, and basically what that was doing was, if you're on the N7 other guy, you were not making a pass unless you had help. I hate to say it, but you were not making a pass on the N10 lane unless you had some help with you. I think I saw multiple people try to go down to the inside to make a pass, but they just couldn't. It just kept bogging their cars down. They would lose ground. Some had that aero push or aero looseness where they had to, chase their car up the racetrack or whatever, which happens with every iteration. I know some people thought that, just putting these cars, solid on the ground and just glued to the ground will get rid of that feeling in the car. It's not, and no matter what you have, it's going to happen like that. That's just aerodynamics. A car on the inside of another car, it's going to get loose going at those speeds. We see it in the Truck Series. This basically the Truck Series package, just on a not as Truck Series-ish, I guess you could say. That it's not as slow, but this is basically what the Truck Series package is. You know, the trucks have those big spoilers. They're slower. It's basically that package. The trucks are notorious for getting loose underneath each other. The truck on the inside gets really loose. We've seen it time and time again. In the Truck Series, their drivers have to hang on to it, or they get up and crash into the guy on the outside. That normally happens. At the Truck Series, I was expecting nothing different. I was expecting that same thing to happen, where the driver on the inside might get loose or tight and have to chase their car off the racetrack, lose ground, make that guy on the outside lose ground, then someone else comes and take advantage and gets that. That happened throughout. I think it was Ty Dillon got loose underneath Ryan Newman, chased his car off the racetrack, and then I think it was like Austin Dillon went by 3 wide on the inside to gain those positions. I mean, that happened, so obviously that problem is never going to be fixed. It's aerodynamics. It's happened under every single type of package NASCAR's had. Go back to the best racing days, those packages, they had the same issues with aerodynamics and whatnot, and being in different lanes for restarts and whatnot. It's still going to matter, and track position's going to matter even more now. From what we've seen, Brad Keselowski led basically the whole session until he decided he wanted to go back in the pack. In fact, he had pulled away to a nice hungry lead, a nice healthy lead, before he decided to drop back. In fact, he let out of the gas so that he could actually get back in the pack. And I assume he let out of the gas because I don't think they would have calmed that fast. And also, I'm guessing he just let out the gas because Kyle Busch also went back there to try and get in the pack or whatever. They just want to see how other cars are in the pack, I guess. And so that was basically all that happened, was that, the inside sucked. You had to be on the outside, and being on the outside was definitely a big momentum booster for anyone who was up there. You would just, a driver would try to pass you on the inside, and they would just get bogged down. Driver on the outside just fly right around and clear easily. I mean, it just wasn't anything special. I mean, it was just literally go-karts out on the track at that point. And in my honest opinion, it did not make me any more excited for the season than what I was before. I wasn't excited before the season, and I haven't been excited now. It's stupid to me that the Cup cars are slower than the Xfinity cars. They're probably easier to drive at this point. And now they're trying to manufacture excitement into the cars. And then on top of that, the stream, they have 2 NASCAR.com employees. They have Chris Rice, who is, I think that's his name. He's the crew chief of, I think, the number 10, number 11 Xfinity car. And then I forget the other guy. I'm so sorry, other guy, because you're actually better than Chris Rice, because I cannot stand Chris Rice. Oh my God. I mean, if he was like, oh my God, he must have been getting a really big paycheck for hyping up this package, because the whole thing leading up in the single car, in the single car session was, can't wait to see this drafting package. It's going to make these cars closer together, tighter together. We're going to see some great drafting. We're going to see, passing. We're going to see this. He even brought up Rex at one point, which is pretty stupid in my opinion, to sell this package on Rex, because why do you want Rex? I mean, he's saying like they're going to race closer together and someone's going to spin. It's going to take 10, 15 cars out. I don't want that, okay? I do not want to see a big crash every damn race. Okay, I just want to see good racing. That's all I want to see. And if you're going to give me big crashes, that's kind of stupid to manufacture that. And then he's saying all that, and then we get to the drafting session. It's complete garbage. It's not really any good at all. I think he had a hot mic at one point, because I think it was him cut in, and he said something like that 3 hasn't been able to make a pass yet. I don't like that. But I don't know if he didn't realize his mic was on or what, but he said it. And I was like, man. And then he comes back and he's like, this is very interesting to see how the inside lane doesn't work. And, it's very interesting to see how people have to make these passes. But you literally just said, you didn't know you said it to everyone, but you said it to everyone that, this 3 hasn't been able to make a pass on the inside. That's not good. I don't like that. But, and then they're trying to be like, this is only with 14 cars, and, maybe only 10 of them were pushing hard. So maybe it'll be better with 40 cars. Maybe, this and that. It's a test session, so maybe they weren't pushing it too hard. Maybe this. I mean, that's a lot of different little, this. That's a lot of different scenarios you have to put yourself into to make a race good, because when NASCAR fans try to defend something about the falling attendance or whatever, it's always doom and gloom. How no, it's all NASCAR's fault. It's not, there can't be any. Well, this. There's no other factors, just NASCAR. But then he's saying, oh, this could all make it different. I don't think 40 cars is going to improve that whatsoever. Because we saw it break up into multiple packs. I see no reason why in the Las Vegas race come March that will not break up into multiple packs again. I see no reason why that would not happen again. I see no reason why 4 cars wouldn't just pull away. Because I also saw something that I did not like to see. I saw it though, and it was something that I said was going to happen a lot this season. Was 2 cars got side by side, they side drafted each other, they stalemated, and no one was able to make the pass. Someone was actually making the inside work. The car on the outside got down his quarter panel, sucked him back to him. Guy on the inside got to his quarter panel, sucked him back to him, and they stayed side by side. You know what happened? The front 4 pulled away. That's what happened. The front 4 pulled away. It was Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, I think it was Austin Dillon, and Jimmy Johnson. All 4 of them just pulled away as 5th and 6th were side drafting each other, not letting each other get away, and the front 4 pulled away. That my fear is that if they are doing that for second with about 20, 30 laps to go in the race, if second place and third place are side drafting each other, who's going to challenge the leader for the win? Because once they get clear of each other, great, you got clear of each other, but you just wasted like 7 laps side by side, and the leader now has a 3-second lead in this package where it's hard to pass if you don't have help. You need help in this package to pass someone. We've seen it time and time again. In the Indy Xfinity race, you know what happened? No one passed Allgaier. You know why? No one was working with each other. The only thing that made the Indy Xfinity race in this package talked about so great was because a caution came out which set up a 1-lap stage shootout. The only good things that happened during the Xfinity race at Indy was because of a caution flag. It happened off of restart. It didn't even happen off a long 40-lap run. It happened off a restart, okay? It's not like the package actually worked over a long green flag run. It happened off a restart, okay? So right now this package is getting a thumbs down for me. I do not want it, and there's a ton I could go on about the package, but I've also seen things like there were people on Twitter that were like, oh, what were the average pull speeds run in 1990 for the pull, ha ha ha, because people were like, oh, we want the old days NASCAR back, and look at the speeds are just like that. But back in 1990, they didn't hold their foot wide open around the damn racetrack, okay? The reasons they were that slow is because the engineering on these cars was not as advanced back in 1990 as is in 2019, okay, you idiot? Okay, because Jim Utter, who was saying that, he's probably the worst NASCAR reporter there ever is, saying like, oh, back in 1990, these are like the same pull speeds as what they're running now, single file, in their single run, their single run session. But back in 1990, they didn't have the grip that the mechanical grip and lateral grip and all that they have now, because obviously engineering has gotten bigger and whatnot. They actually had to lift through the corners. When you lift through the corners, it's going to create an overall lower speed throughout because they take average speed. They don't take high speed. They take average speed of the lap. So if you're lifting in the corner, it's an average speed. What they're doing now is not the same as what they're doing back in 1994, where they're lifting in the middle of the corner. Right now, these guys are wide open through the corner. Late in the run, they will have to lift a little bit, but they're lifting barely, okay? They're not lifting a lot. To think that NASCAR is changing from the 2018 package, which set up a ton of amazing races, a ton of amazing finishes, and now they're changing to this, Chicagoland. Would that Chicagoland finish last season have been a thing with this package? Would Larson be able to drive down to the inside hit column? Maybe. But because they barely have to lift now, would Kyle Busch be able to drive in there and just hit Larson? Wouldn't Larson have just gotten in there wide open into turns 3 and 4? If Kyle Busch would have gotten in there wide open, Kyle Busch would be able to get to Larson's back bumper and Larson would have gone on to win. So, in my opinion, this package is not going to be good. And I think it's going to drive a lot more people away than it's going to draw in, because it's hard to pass. The inside lane bogs out because the engines have been, limited in what they can push out. So cars are getting bogged down the bottom lane. Hard to pass. The leader looked like had a huge advantage out front. And we still haven't seen it in race conditions or with more cars. Maybe with more cars it'll be better. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I'm just saying I think it's going to be just like it was, except we're just going to have 4 times more cars out on the racetrack. Because, looking at the Xfinity Pocono race from last season, that wasn't good. The Xfinity Michigan race wasn't that great. So, I mean, it's just what it is now. We're stuck with it for the season. We'll have to see how it goes. But in my opinion, it's just not going to be great. In my opinion, people still aren't going to like it. We had good races last season. People just ignored it. people ignored the second Las Vegas race. People ignored Chicagoland. We had Atlanta, which was a good race. We had Richmond. We had both Kansas races were good. We had some good racing on 1.5-mile tracks. The problem is there are some factors that come into, that as well. The car, the Gen 6 car isn't the best for producing good races. The way it's angled and all that, it's just not great with aerodynamics, with the air going through and around and whatever. It's just not great. It's just not great to produce good racing. On top of that, we've seen tracks are better, hotter. Chicagoland, hot racetrack, and they moved it to the summer. Best race there in years. Best race there maybe ever. They moved Las Vegas to the summer. Best Las Vegas race I've seen in a long time. So, it is what it is. I also want to point out why I don't like this package and why I feel like it's the wrong direction for NASCAR to go in. It's because of the fact that you have to, it's something to do with natural, the whole sport part of the race of NASCAR and not, the entertainment factor. So this has been also discussed with debris cautions. I have been an advocate against debris cautions, against fake debris cautions. If there's actual debris on the racetrack, throw the caution because it's actually a safety concern. But for years, and it's been documented, NASCAR has thrown fake debris cautions. We had about 100 a few seasons ago. It's now gone down to under 20, tracking around 10 the last 2 seasons. And that's not because there's less debris on the racetrack. That's because NASCAR decided to start throwing less debris cautions, and overall cautions have gone down. And people may be like, well, why do you want less cautions? No, cautions make good racing. I don't care if there's a crash and a caution comes out. That's fine. Cautions are fine. They're a part of racing, whatever. But when you start throwing fake debris cautions, right, that's just telling me that you're in it for the entertainment. You're there. You're trying to produce an entertaining race. And you have just taken the lead away from someone. If someone could have a 5-second lead, throw a debris caution, there's no debris on the racetrack. You just have erased that driver's lead. You have altered the outcome of the race. Okay, you've altered the outcome of the race by doing that. So whatever. And then, say like on the restart, the person who had a 5-second lead had a slow pit stop. They fall back to 5th, and then they get wrecked. Well, you just ruined that driver's race because you just wanted to produce some excitement throughout the race. You're making now an aero package where being the leader is supposed to be not good. According to some people, it's made so that you get good runs on the leader and get by them. So why? So being the leader is now apparently supposed to be a disadvantage. When in any other sport, racing or stick and ball, has there been a time where we want the leader of a game or a race to be disadvantaged? Okay, there have been so many different examples I could use throughout all these other sports about stuff like that, but I don't want to name them all. But let's just say like an NFL example, some teams dominating 38-0, and by the end of the first half. NFL doesn't just go and like add time to the clock or add points to the board or take points off. That's it. Blowouts will happen, and that's a big thing to understand. In every sport, there will be bad races, there will be bad games, there will be good races, there will be good games. Not everything is going to be 110%, okay? And once people expect every single race or every single game to be great, awesome, close, exciting, that's just unrealistic. And when you have people come into a sport and want that out of everything, it makes it unrealistic whatsoever. If you want 3 wide and double file all the time at every racetrack, every race, that's unrealistic to happen, okay? Some races are going to be horrible and blowouts. That's fine. That's a part of it. Some team knows the track well. That's fine. Good for them. They dominated. You shouldn't be, put down into the ground. You shouldn't be getting limited by NASCAR, putting this thing over your engine to limit the horsepower that you've gained and the advantage you've gained, bringing you now back to people who aren't as good as you. Roush Fenway Racing, they're not great. They're probably going to be running up inside the top 15 or top 10 now because the teams have fallen back to them. They have not gained anything. They have stayed the same. The other teams have come back to them. Stewart-Haas Racing has actually lost their advantage now. Roush Fenway hasn't gained anything. Stewart-Haas is now back to Roush Fenway Racing. Stewart-Haas worked all that time to get all that and all this advantage, And you know where they are now? They're back with Roush Fenway Racing, who has done nothing at all. Nothing at all. Richard Childress Racing has done nothing at all. And now they're basically on equal footing with Zero House Racing and Joe Gibbs Racing. So, nothing. You know, they did nothing. And now they're there with them. So you've just taken someone who had an advantage, who gained an advantage, who gained a fair advantage. They haven't cheated to do it. And you've just brought them back. You've gotten rid of that advantage. That's stupid, in my opinion. But I could go on farther about that. That's for a different video later on in the season if this package fails. I'd like to leave it off on this last note. In a tweet Dale Jr. sent out, someone asked him about how he felt about the drafting package. He said, you know, maybe if I was there, it'd be something different. Then someone else asked him about it, and they said, I have my own opinion on what would be best. I think everyone has a different opinion. Some of mine might be great ideas. Some may be wrong, and honestly, my thoughts change on it over the years. Basically, what he's saying is, I have my opinion. It's different for NASCAR's opinion. NASCAR's their opinion. My opinion's different. I don't know if my opinion's right or wrong, but in my opinion, NASCAR's not doing what I think would be best. He then someone followed up with like, yeah, you know, whatever. I thought last year was good too. And then Dale said last year was great in my opinion, but a change was made. I hope for the best with it. Basically saying, you know, I didn't agree with the change. I thought, you know, the package could have stayed the same. It would have been fine, but I just hope it all goes right. So, you know, that's basically what it is. We'll probably see more driver reactions later on in interviews, whatever. We'll see how the other drafting sessions go, see if they're any better. But that's the first look on NASCAR's drafting package with many cars. It looks like track position is going to be big next season. So I thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys for the next video.